Hello? Hi. Well, I have no doubt that there's a lot of people in here that have killed a lot more bulls than I have, so I'm not gonna pretend to try to educate somebody on the basics of elk calling. So my thought was I try to maybe shed some light on some sounds that maybe you're not familiar with, or maybe you've never heard but elk make, or maybe just some calls you can use yourself that'll help differentiate yourself from what everybody else is doing, because you're doing what nobody else is doing, the elk haven't heard it, and some call-shy bulls might be more apt to come on in. So there's a bunch of different sounds we can talk about. I thought I'd start with a little bit of cow calling, and then I'll move into some bugling, and then I'll show you how you can mix them all together to create some breeding sequences and that sort of thing. So I'll start out with some cow calls. I'll start with just a cow scream. It's not something you hear a lot of, but it's a very, very, very effective sound to use in the woods. And it's what a cow is going to do when she's getting very demanding. She's yearning, she wants you to come, but you know, she's calling to her calf, the calf won't come. She's calling to a bull, the bull won't come. And she's getting really aggressive. And you can do it two different ways. You can do it with a voice scream or a lip scream. And I'll kind of show you how that would go. So I'm sure you can hear the urgency in the sound, and I doubt you've heard too many hunters doing it in the woods. But it's a dynamite sound when you're just doing your basic cow calling and you've got a bull, he'll answer, but he won't come. And you can start doing that. You're screaming at him, come here now. Or you can use it like a lost cow sound. You can add it to anything. I know I'm babbling a bit here, but it's a sound you can add to anything when you want to add urgency. So even if it's a cow looking for its calf, so you can mix it together so you have a separated cow and calf, and then you can show the cow getting angry and aggressive with the calf, and it just creates a realistic scenario. And it's really easy to do. All you're doing is just using your voice. You're doing a cow mew, but you're using your voice. You're going, yeah, yeah. It's really not very hard to do, and it's a very effective sound that not a lot of people are doing. And I'll show you how you can incorporate that with some other stuff later on. Another sound that's really good, I know a lot of people shy away from using bull sounds because they're scared of running the bulls off, but they're so effective, and really for killing herd bulls, it's really your main tool. But there's ways you can use bull sounds that you're not directly challenging the bull, but you're letting them know you're there. And it's, instead of scaring them away, you're more or less kind of inviting a confrontation. And again, it's not really complicated stuff, but it really works, and a lot of guys aren't doing it. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'll start with some yearning cow sounds, and instead of coming in and doing a challenge scream at a bull, I'll make it sound like a satellite bull's coming in to hook the cow away. And when they're doing that, they'll use a lot of tending lugs, and they'll moan and groan. I moan through my reeds more than I bugle, I dare say, and it works really well, and I'll show you how that kind of goes. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it really works, and people don't do it. But if you think about it, if you've got a bull with a harem, and one cow's out of his sight, which is going to be you, and then you can make it sound like his cow's getting hooked, and he's going to come over to see what's going on. And if you're using a partner setup, you draw him right on by. It's just an effective way to differentiate yourself again. So if you're going to mix it up, and I can promise you will get a reaction. It really works well. And another sound that I use a lot, and it's kind of taboo for most people, but it shouldn't be, is barking. As everyone always says, why are you barking? You can't bark. You're going to scare every elk in the woods away. But there's different kinds of barks. There's an alarm bark, which none of us want to hear, but that's a really aggressive and It's rapid fire. It sounds like a dog's barking at you. And it's rapid. The elk are gone at that point. But I'm sure we've all heard just the standard, they'll bark at you once and then they go quiet. And they'll bark at you once and they'll go quiet. And they'll pace back and forth and they'll bark. And the game's not necessarily over when you hear that. And if you use it preemptively, it can actually really help you. It works really well in hung up bulls. The theory behind it is, I mean, I don't know, we don't know what's in their head, but the theory behind it is you're trying to get the elk to come out and identify itself. It's a curious bark more than a warning bark, and it comes in a single shot. Way less aggression and way less tension in it. And I'm sure everyone in here this elk hunter has heard that at some point. But if you've got a hung up bull and he's in the thicket, you know, he's in range but he won't come in, that's a really good way to get him to show himself. And it's not necessarily it shouldn't be a taboo call. And for stopping a bull for a shot, it works better than a cow call ever thought of working. It's the absolute best way to stop a bull. It will stop in his tracks. He won't take another step, I promise. It's the best call for stopping a bull. But again, nobody's in the woods barking because, you know, for obvious reasons, but it's not necessarily a call that you should avoid. Another good call that is a really good call that I like to use. It was shown to me by Joel Turner, who's a two-time world calling champion and probably the best elk caller I've ever known. Is the bull calling cows bugle, which I think a lot of people think it's a challenge bugle, but it's not. It's a bull communicating with his cows. And he's doing it when, you know, a cow's trying to run away and he's trying to bring her back. He's herding his harem around. And it's a short lip-ball scream is what it is, with a very distinct pop on the end of it. And it's really good to be able to identify it even if you're not using it, because if you're in the woods and you hear it, you already know that that's a herd bull. He's got cows. A bull's not going to do that if he doesn't have cows. It's the only time he's going to use it. But again, it's another good thing for the hunter to do, because you can do the same yearning cow calls, and then you can do a bull calling cow's bugle, and now that bull, again, you're not challenging the bull, but you're taking his cow away, and again, he's going to come in for a look. So it's a good way of not scaring the bull off, but using bugling to your advantage. And it sounds kind of like this. It's a very aggressive sound. And again, that's bull calling to his cows. He's not challenging another bull, but I think it's such an aggressive sound, a lot of people often think that's what it is. So it's another tool, and then if you throw it in, you can create a breeding sequence. And breeding sequences are absolutely dynamite, especially when the elk aren't calling. They work incredibly well. The elk will usually come in quiet, but when nothing else is working, you can usually draw something in for a look with a breeding sequence by combining all of these sounds together. And it's absolutely dynamite when the elk aren't calling. It's just another tool for the toolbox, which I think is, you know, you can never have too many. You know, there's days where a hoochie mama will work, but there's days where they won't. Another thing I'll just touch on real quickly too. Again, it was taught to me by Joel Turner, the world elk calling champion, and it is proven very, very, very real in my experience. Is when a lot of guys are doing their location bugles, is they're not hitting a high enough pitch with it. When you hit your perfect location bugle, it'll actually make your ear ring a little bit. And if you're not making your ear ring a little bit, then you're not calling as many bulls as you could. And well, you'll know when you hit it because your ear will ring. And it's not that you have to blow hard or anything, it's that you just need a call that has a bit of a tighter stretch on it. You don't blow it hard, you can still blow it soft, it's just the tension in the reed that'll give you the call. And it's just, again, a nice, long, clear note, but it's got a very high pitch. But you've got to get that nice high pitch. That's what you really want to aim for in a location bugle. You can change your reeds and do whatever you want after that, but just for purely locating, especially at night, it works really well if you're going out at 2 hours before light and identifying bulls where they are going to be when the daylight comes. It's a really effective way, but you want to make sure you're hitting that high pitch. I don't know that I really have too much more else to say without just starting to ramble, so I just thought I'd share a few different ideas with you guys. Maybe you can try them out and see if they work. They've definitely worked for me. But I don't think you can ever have too many tools in your toolbox, so feel free to give them a try. I can guarantee you there won't be too many people in your areas that are using a lot of these sounds, so it's a good way to separate yourself from the pack. Thanks, everyone.
Good.